Hello and welcome back to Google+. My name is TheSunlightBlade and you are watching the weekly Top 10 Countdown. This is week 9 Top 10 Cosplays. You want to know how to submit your footage for next week? Stick around to the end of this video and I will gladly explain how you can submit your footage. Otherwise, let's jump right into this week's countdown at number 10. Starting this week off, we have Furdus as Jeremiah. Now, if you didn't know, Jeremiah is an NPC that invades you in the painted world. Now, this is a fun little cosplay, but it's actually a bit more challenging to use than you might think. You only have the Whip and Chaos pyromancies that don't include Great Combustion or anything like that. Now, although Furdus used some of my favourite pyromancies of all time, including Chaos Whip and Fire Whip, I think this submission could have been higher in the countdown if this invasion had been done in the painted world where Jeremiah traditionally invades. Anyway, Furdus did a great job, so congratulations on taking the number 10 spot. Taking the number 9 spot, we have XHEO27DKS. And he's cosplaying as Golden Knight Garrow from the Japanese television series. It's a very nice submission, and he's up against 2 people, so it's a very nice gang spank as well. And to finish it off with style, he does a very nice plunging attack. So congratulations to XHEO27 for taking the number 9 spot. At number 8, we have some sneaky PC modifying coming into play, or hacking, whatever you want to call it. However, if all hackers could just do this and change their characters for a more fashionable look, or just changing the aesthetics or hair colour, for example, it would all be fine. However, some hackers just can't help themselves and they have to give themselves an unfair advantage over other players. But anyway, that's got nothing to do with this submission. This submission is very clever. I like the beefed up arms, a nice Popeye cosplay. I'm sure you all know who Popeye the Sailor Man is. That's who this cosplay is. Very creative, so congratulations to Sobachka Kitten on taking the number 8 spot. This week we happen to have 2 bonus clips. This first bonus clip is submitted by Giyomizu Soul, I hope I pronounced that correctly. And he's cosplaying as Spartacus from the film Gladiators, which just so happens to be one of my favourite films of all time. If you haven't seen Gladiator, you haven't lived. It's such a good film. Definitely recommend it. Anyhow, you got to give him props right there for using the shield bash. And most of my Spartan cosplays that I've seen are usually a small iron shield with spears. Spears seem to be very common in Spartacus cosplays or Spartan cosplays. And he does a jump attack, so he's going for some cool attacks. I got to give this guy props for making his cosplay and adding a bit of a personal touch to it, changing it up a bit. That's definitely shows some nice creativity, and it's just a nice submission overall, so good kill. Congratulations on taking the first bonus spot. I like the well, what is it gesture he did at the end, kind of reminded me of the "Are you not entertained" quote from Gladiator. But anyhow, number 7, Shwami LPD is cosplaying the old monk offline fight from Demon Souls. If you guys have ever played Demon Souls, I'm sure you'll know what this is. It's very cool that we have people cosplaying stuff from Demon Souls, the first game in the series, in Dark Souls. I just find that quite interesting, quite funny. It's definitely, I've heard it's a good game. Never played Demon Souls. I'm really considering buying a PlayStation 3 just to play it. I know that sounds really silly, but I've heard that it's an amazing game. But anyhow, not to get distracted, this was a very nice submission. Full use of the sorceries that the old monk does, and he actually gets a sorcery final killing blow, so that was really cool. Congratulations on taking the number 7 spot. Number 6, we have a more traditional Dark Souls roleplay. This is I Mesmerize, cosplaying as a Darkwraith. And what I really like about this is how he acts exactly how the Darkwraith NPCs in the New Londo Ruins act themselves. He does everything they do and charges after the host with them as a pack. I just found this really creative and interesting. It's such a fun idea. It sounds simple, but I bet it was a lot of fun to do, and it definitely shows because it's a lot of fun to watch. So thank you, I Mesmerize, for your submission. Congratulations on taking the number 6 spot. After a long chase, the Darkwraith catches the terrified host in the elevator and gets a very nice New Londo elevator kill. And ends it off by staring intimidatingly at the camera. That was quite a nice ending. Congratulations on taking the number 6 spot. This week's second bonus clip is submitted by Serge Aquos, and he's cosplaying as everyone's favourite Ulasil Township NPC invader, Chester. Now if you didn't know, Chester uses the sniper crossbow. Now although Chester might be a formidable opponent, the sniper crossbow is actually one of the worst weapons in Dark Souls. The reason it's so bad is because it has absolutely no weapon tracking capabilities at all, which means the direction you point it at is the direction the weapon will fire, regardless of whether or not the enemy you're aiming at has moved. Now of course, the startup animation of the weapon, as well as the post-reloading animation, are ridiculously slow, which means with this weapon, every time you fire a bolt, all they're going to do is simply stroll around behind you and backstab you while you're starting up the animation as well as the reload animation. It's just a horrible weapon overall with quite bad damage and none of the advantages that Chester has, such as bleed. So congratulations to Serge Aquos for getting one of the only sniper crossbow kills, as well as it being a headshot, that you'll ever see on YouTube probably. Congratulations on taking the second bonus spot on this week's countdown. Halfway down the countdown at number 5 we have our second Demon Souls submission this week. This is Adel Al-Shamari with his Fat Official cosplay. Now you guys probably understand this submission more than I do, because as previously stated, I have never played Demon Souls. However, I can clearly recognise and appreciate the amount of time and creativity that went into creating this awesome roleplay. To mimic the Fat Official's evil and menacing laugh, he used oral decoy, which I thought was a very nice touch and definitely put him up higher on the countdown. All in all, this was a very nice submission and an awesome cosplay, so thank you Adel Al-Shamari and congratulations on taking the number 5 spot. Taking the number 4 spot this week we have Shot 1608, and he's cosplaying as the warrior from Dark Souls 2. It's really cool to get excited and hyped for Dark Souls 2 by cosplaying characters that we know are going to be in Dark Souls 2 in Dark Souls, the second installment of this series. This is a really cool submission and a nice cosplay, but this invasion itself is actually cooler. It's at this point where I would probably give up or expect to die, but instead this invasion just turns into a hilariously comedic series of fails with all of his opponents just fall off the side. It's ridiculous. It's almost as though, I don't even know what to say. That was hilarious. Congratulations to Shot for that amazing submission.
Feel the power of Shao Kahn.
Taking the 3rd spot this week is Uzi, and he's cosplaying as Shao Kahn, a character from the Mortal Kombat fighting game series. Now this is an absolutely awesome cosplay, but let's focus on the fact just for a second that this invasion is extremely unbalanced. Uzi's wearing little to no poise with low defenses and the blacksmith hammer. Now the blacksmith hammer is well known to not be a very good weapon. His opponent on the other hand has a buffed obsidian greatsword with Darkmoon blade and has pretty high defenses and high poise. Just keep that in mind for a few seconds.
Prepare to die.
Uzi just performed a flawless kill. That's pretty respectable considering the odds. So congratulations to Uzi. Now moving on to number 2. Number 2 features Serge Aquos, who's cosplaying as a Titanite demon. This is amazing and it's just such a good, creative and out of the ordinary cosplay that it definitely deserves the 2nd spot on this countdown. He even managed to do it in the same room that the Titanite demon is normally found in. Now I've made a slight change to my top 10 countdown series. If a player submits 2 submissions that I can't choose between because they're both so amazing, such as happened with Serge Aquos here on this week's countdown, then I will I will allow both submissions to be featured, however the second submission can only be featured as a bonus clip. This is so that players don't steal someone else's chance of getting in the top 10. Congratulations to Sir Jacobs for that insane cosplay, amazing number 2 spot. Let's move on to number 1. The number 1 spot this week goes to Crazy999, who sent in the most horrifying submission I've ever received. He's role-playing as Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. Such an amazingly creative week. Thank you to all the contributors. If you want to know how to submit your own footage for next week, all you have to do is send your footage to me in a private message on YouTube, giving me permission to use your footage. Thanks for watching. Remember to come back next week for the next week's top 10.